Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, the master of the deceptive arts, and I am the voice of the Vasectomites. And today, I would like to dive deep into the hearts and minds of the knee benders and the counterparts by looking into and analyzing some of their deepest and most fundamental of beliefs. What we're going to do today is talk about a philosophy that I have termed benderism. Now, benderism isn't a word that is quite frankly defined, as I invented it myself along with the term knee benders and counterparts. I didn't invent the words themselves. I just used them in a particular expression. So I'll take credit for the expression, but nobody's actually invented any words, not in a very long time anyway. But benderism is not a defined word, nor is it qualified or quantified in any meaningful academic expression, at least not yet. However, while it cannot be assigned a meaning currently, it will be, right? But it can be assessed for what it expresses and, quite frankly, what it stands for and what it motivates and encompasses, even though we haven't defined it yet, right? It can be said that benderism encompasses the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, the ideas, right? This is as a philosophy, and also the actions that lead to, go along with, and come after a knee bender bending that knee, right? So these are all the things that, like dating, relationships, proposals, engagement parties, what and so on. I haven't been through the process myself, so I really can't say what goes into it. I don't know, rehearsal dinners, and then the wedding ceremony itself. Then there's the honeymoon. This all sounds very expensive to me. Every time I think about it, it all sounds very expensive. Not to mention children, child raising, everything that comes with bending that knee. And in truth, most men will bend the knee at least once in their lives. We're at, I think it's 98 or 99% of the population of Earth has been married once or will be married at least once in their lives. So benderism, in effect, would include not just philosophy, but also theology and religion. Now, I'm not going to be spending a lot of time really discussing religions. One, I'm not really a religious expert, so I don't think I can offer any type of meaningful insight into that world. But also, I don't want to be seen to be critical of people's most fundamental beliefs, especially when it comes to that. So I personally will be staying clear of the topic of religion and theology. So I won't be analyzing any religious texts or translating them or anything to that effect. However, it would be remiss to not take into account the serious effect that theology and religion have in people's lives. It's something that is very serious and people take it very, very seriously. Most people in the world subscribe to one or other type of religion. I don't mean like philosophy, that kind of thing. No, I mean like a religion. So, and the way they express their faith is they will say, "I am a this," right? They don't say, "I believe in this" or "I follow this." They say, "I am this," which means it's very personal and entrenched, right? So if you are let me try and find a philosophy. Okay, so maybe you were a pagan, right? From and paganism is not a very popular religion, so it's quite frankly what some might consider a dead religion. So I suppose I could make reference to that. But if you were expressing paganism, you would say, "I am a pagan," right? People don't say, "I believe in paganism," right? When even if you ask them, "What is your belief? What is your religion?" they will say, "I am a pagan," right? They won't say, "My religion is paganism." That's not how people respond to that. So it's those words are very pointed, right? They are very, very specific and they express a level and depth of commitment that, quite frankly, cannot be left out of the conversation, right? You really cannot talk about humanity without talking about the spirit of humanity, right? Even in the law, there is a thing that they say is the spirit of the law, right? The spirit of competition. That faith is deeply entrenched into humanity. So in understanding the philosophy that is Benderism, you must understand the role that faith, religion, and theology plays, particularly when it comes to marriage, right? Particularly when it comes to marriage, you really cannot underestimate that. For many times it is and I say that quite frankly, marriage is not a religious rite of passage. It's a legal contract, but this is an academic definition. The action of marriage, the act of getting married, right, is performed generally under religious circumstances. So really, you cannot remove theology, faith, and religion from the discussion of marriage, family, and societal building as a whole. That being said, it's probably the last time I have that discussion, right? It's probably the last time I discuss religion. The philosophy that we will be discussing is Benderism, right? So while religion is an important part, it's not the only part of Benderism. There's also the social part. So what does your society believe in terms of family? So your friends, your family itself, your siblings, your parents, your grandparents, are they telling you that your duty to society, to humanity, to the economy, to the country is to have a family? And for most people, the answer to that is yes. And it's not just the people themselves. It's the shows you watch, the music you listen to, the places that you go to. If you look at restaurants are very romantic. This is something that is not really very discussed. It's the structure of the thing. You look at a restaurant, coffee shops and those kinds of things, they're really there, and how small the tables are. Look how small the tables are. Those tables are really there, quite frankly, for intimate discussions, private discussions between two people. The lighting is designed in a certain way, the deco is designed in a certain way, the furniture and so on. These and then there's the cutlery, the cups, the plates, the forks, the knives. All these things are there to give you a romantic experience. Sometimes they'll even light a candle right there just to get the lighting nice. So the society plays a big role in benderism, right? In getting you to the place where ultimately you're going to bend that knee, right? It's a big social event, getting married, right? You bring your family and friends, the counterpart brings in their family and friends, and their friends bring friends, and so forth. It's a very big social event, and it can happen in several venues in one day. So you can go from a religious venue to a state venue to a private venue to an eating venue, and then to a venue where you have a party, or you could just have one venue for all of that, right? Then, of course, you have the economic structures. And all these things that I've just discussed, they cost money, right? Dating costs money, getting dressed for it, driving around, going to all these places, the entrance fees, and so on and so forth. All these things cost money, right? So we need to consider the economic structures of benderism. Not only that, we need to discuss to consider rather the mind and the psychology of the bender, right? Psychology, like really, it's not just that they want to do this, they desire it, they think about it, they meditate on it, they focus on it, they discuss it all the time. It's part of every discussion, it's part of every strategy or failed strategy, right? The mental side and psychology of benderism is such that, quite frankly, the bender thinks about the counterpart all the time, and the counterpart thinks about the bender all the time, and they're dynamic together. It really encompasses the majority of their life, right? And these are beliefs that are real and imagined, right? So they don't just remember; they also plan for the future. So they're living, on the one hand, in the past, thinking about what happened in their relationship, currently what's happening in their relationship or in the romance wars, and then the future strategy that they'll follow in the romance wars. It's really an all-encompassing mental dilemma, right? Then, of course, we have the legal aspects and financial contributions. So legal aspects is, in fact, marriage is a legal contract. Dating, solicitation, it can be seen as a legal or a move with legal consequences. Money is, of course, legal tender. So the law is a very big part of benderism. And I believe that most benders are inadvertently breaking the law through solicitation and dating and that kind of thing. But also, that's very expensive. So all those gifts, all those dates, all those trips, all those things cost money. There's a business aspect to benderism that cannot be denied. And also socioeconomically. So are you middle class? Are you in the upper echelons of society? Or are you wallowing in debt and poverty? And I would argue that benderism leads to, quite frankly, debt and poverty. If not severe poverty where you're homeless and that kind of thing, but you really live off a lot of debt. And then we have the physical self-sacrifice, the personal sacrifice in terms of labor. Yes, in the past few days we talked about burnout in terms of work, right? I was thinking about labor, but we're talking about hours and hours and hours of work, years and years and years and years in a career, decades in a career, and all spent to sustain, maintain a counterpart, and the children that you have with the counterpart, right? I really need to find another euphemism for children before I get banned again on another platform. So there is a tremendous self-sacrifice that comes with benderism, as there is a sacrifice to the bachelor life. So there's either way you're going to make a sacrifice, right? In benderism, you sacrifice your freedom, you self-sacrifice. This is what it is really, right? Your freedom, your self-determination, your liberation, freedom of movement, and so forth. All the things that we advocate for here in the bachelor life. And as a vasectomite, you self-sacrifice in benderism. That's really what it comes down to. Whereas to live in the solitude, and in order to be a bachelor, you must lose that which you love. You sacrifice others for yourself. And an everlasting exchange. A wife and a child for a life. This is the sacrifice of the bachelor life. But in benderism, you sacrifice yourself. And you sacrifice yourself in the name of something larger than yourself. In the idea, in the belief, in the concept, in the philosophy that there is something that is larger than yourself. And that thing is called family. Now, this is not to imply that if you are in a successful, happy, thriving family, that you should leave that environment. Absolutely not. That's the best environment that you could be in. And also, it's also the best environment to raise kids, right? And many of you are going to have kids, right? Most of you, 99% of the world's population is going to have kids. And it is known that in order for a child to thrive, the best possible environment they could be in is in a two-parent household, whether those parents are happy together or not, right? Again, this is not to imply that benderism is wrong or faulty. In fact, it's quite the opposite, right? And this is what we're going to see here today, right? Is that much of what benderism stands for is well researched and well substantiated, and quite frankly can be true if you are going to have kids and have a family. This is what today's article is going to demonstrate, is the benefits of benderism when in fact you have children. However, should you choose to get a vasectomy, all these benefits become liabilities. When you are a vasectomite, these benefits become liabilities. But if you are still not a vasectomite, if you still haven't got that vasectomy, if you still didn't freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy, this is probably what you're going to need to end up trying to pull off. And based on the divorce rate and statistics in countries around the world, it's an indication that you're not going to pull it off, right? There are many well-made insights in today's edification and article. And ironically, despite being a bachelor, I agree with most of them, and I probably will agree with most of them, if not all of them, right? These points that you will see today are not just logical, they are true. But their truth has a limitation. The first limit, or several limitations. The first limitation is what I mentioned a moment ago, is that if you get a vasectomy, you don't need to worry about these issues. If you don't have kids and you freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy, you don't need to concern yourself with these issues. But the most fundamental limitation is in fact the counterpart and the knee bender themselves. Because while these points are all true and valid, they act merely as a standard and a guideline upon which people endeavor to act and to uphold, and not necessarily the norm. So these are not things that are actually done all the time and done successfully. This is not the bender's standard operating procedure. It is the bender's standard. While we have our standard as vasectomites, freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy, and then try these romance wars, they have their standards. And I call that standard benderism. And most knee benders fail to uphold these standards. They fail to live up to their beliefs, nor to enact their ideology. And that's really where their philosophy fails. It's in human error. Too many men are going to make mistakes and get this wrong, regardless of the fact of how many times you can repeat the philosophy and teach it to that person again and again and again. And this is why there's so much room for content. You can literally make the same information over and over and over again and get a core audience of people that want to listen to that information and still not act upon it. And they'll just keep listening and still not act upon it, which will make that information relevant. And regardless of the fact that the knee benders and counterparts don't live up to benderism in its full scope, as we've described it, in their full philosophy, they still believe in it. They still believe in it, despite what the evidence tells them in their face and in their eyes. Quite frankly, they still believe in it. This is what makes, I believe, the vasectomites philosophy a little bit more, how you say, provable, a little bit more fundamental, more correct, right? While philosophically the idea is sound, it's not an idea, it's a practice. You got to freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. This is not a belief, it's a practice. The belief comes after the practice. And for benderism, the belief comes first and then the practice is supposed to follow. And I believe that this is where the standard fails. Because you know the standard and then trying to uphold it is almost impossible. Regardless, the fundamental belief that the benders have and benderism promotes and advocates is that you are making a meaningful contribution to a greater whole, right? You are making a contribution to something that is bigger than yourself. This is what they believe. And you are also doing it for the greater good. And you do this, you take this action by merely, or you make this contribution by having a family, right? So they believe that they're making a contribution to the greater whole. They're doing it for the greater good. They're advancing a larger prerogative, and they advance this prerogative by having a family. So think of it like this, right? The individual grows by having a family. The family grows the community. The community grows society. Society builds nations, and nations make up what we call humanity. It's a beautiful but beautifully flawed philosophy, because while you can see the progression from individual to humanity, and how that small contribution contributes to a larger whole in a meaningful way, it removes economics from it. It removes the fact that, quite frankly, you are now obligated to not just your family, but also to the state to keep contributing economically. It removes things like, which quite frankly can be expensive. It removes things like competition, the individual spirit to want to be better and thrive. It removes like conflict, which I think is inevitable in all human interaction. All human interaction leads to conflict. It removes the desire for superiority through wealth and power, and it makes everybody feel like they are equally contributing to a much larger whole, to a much larger prerogative. It removes selfishness from the self, and it puts the contribution to society above the individual, right? So you can see very clearly that this is a completely different philosophy to what we believe. It's completely the opposite. It's completely the opposite. And as a practitioner of the deceptive arts, it's important for you to know and understand Benderism. You need to know it as well, if not better, than the benders and the counterparts itself. Right? So while we have different philosophies, I assure you they will never take any time to read our philosophy, to invest in the art of war. Very few benders will invest in the art of war. And if they do, they won't enact those philosophies. But we need to understand the mind and hearts of the benders to see exactly what it is that they are looking for. And that's what we'll be doing in today's article, right? Learning to understand benderism. You must know it so well that you can maintain hours of conversations just by talking about it, right? But it's not enough to just know it and talk about it. You have to know it so well that you can add nuanced details to the conversation and elevate the discussion of benderism. You need then to go further, and you must motivate and promote the benderism to the benders and let the benders know just how good benderism is for them, despite the fact that these people are literally preaching something that is the extreme opposite of what we promote. But you have to know benderism, and you cannot fake it. You cannot fake it. Look, you might be able to fake it for a short while and maintain it for a short while, but eventually your deception will fade and your bachelorism will show its true colors. When your bachelorism or your bachelorhood is out, then you'll be left exposed. Then the truth of you will be left exposed, which quite frankly is strategically unsound. And since you can't fake this, then you must use their version of the truth, their version of what is good and right, and give to the bender what benderism dictates of him. So you need to then, in a way, tell the bender, oh man, you're going to want to be a husband one day, and you're going to want to be a good husband to your wife, right? Give to him his own philosophy and discuss that philosophy as just that. as a philosophy with positives and negatives, with good sides and bad sides. Nothing more than that. Nothing more than just a philosophy. You don't need to accept benderism to understand it. This is part of the deceptive arts. This is why you must be a thief of information. Forget stealing money for a while. Try and steal some information. Get some knowledge, some wisdom, some useful knowledge and wisdom, and use that. And use that. You must understand benderism, that it is the dominant ideology on this planet and in this world. You need to come to accept that benderism is the superseding ideology in this world. It's not the law. The law is the superseding power, but this is what people believe is right and good for all. They believe that they have to bend that knee in order to advance not just their community, their society, their country, but also humanity as a whole. Imagine the ego it takes for you to believe that about yourself. That you are here advancing society and humanity. Better to just get a vasectomy so you don't have to live in this type of delusion, right? You must also accept that for most of us, you don't just work and live with benders. So maybe you have benders next door, or many of your colleagues are benders. Many of the people you manage are going to be benders. But you probably work for a bender, right? And you were probably taught and raised and led by benders most of your life, if not all your life. And let's be honest, if you're not a bachelor for life, there was a chance in your life that you wanted to bend the knee. And many of you are going to bend that knee eventually. So most of the world is just benders. And a very small, insignificant portion of us are bachelors. And where the bachelors are most concentrated, they're poor. And it's not because they're ineffective, it's because they're all under 25. Most bachelors are under 25. And after that, most of those bachelors are going to bend that knee. And this is the truth. This is the truth, right? When you work for and work with benders, and you train benders, and you are teaching benders, and you are managing benders with other benders, and you are a leader of benders, you cannot impose bachelor beliefs and vasectomite beliefs on benders. Yes, online we can do it. We could do it on here. We could do it on the internet. We could do it on YouTube. We're having a philosophical discussion, but not in the real world. By real world, I mean where you can physically touch people and they can touch you. There, you cannot be promoting the values of the vasectomite. Therefore, you have no choice. I tell you, you have no choice but to advance the values, the beliefs, and the priorities of the benders. Otherwise, you'll get fired. Otherwise, I promise you, they'll fire you. If you're out there talking that bachelor life in the real world, you're going to get fired. Right? I guarantee you that. Not only that, it's in your contract. You have to uphold the values and the priorities of the company, the institution, the society, the nation, and the country where you work and serve. This is in your contract. If you read your contract, it's implied in your contract. And if you don't uphold that part, they'll fire you. This is why when corporate executives are caught in infidelity and affairs, they lose their jobs because they are not upholding the image right? And the best image of the country, of the corporation rather, or the institution, which means they're not acting in the best interest of the company, which means they have to go. Really, it's that simple. And to my admittance, I too have trained, coached, taught, managed, and mentored many benders in benderism. And I encourage them to bend the knee, knowing in my heart that they would suffer in perpetual misery of marriage, legal matrimony, and the dark dimension. And I'm admitting that. Yes, I did that. I did that. And I did it for money. I did it, and I would do it again, and I'll probably do it every day for the remainder of my career. And I did it very well because it's my job. It is what I'm employed to do, and quite frankly, I do it very, very well. Right? I don't just do it for the money. I'm good at it. I think I'm actually pretty good at it. But effectively, in this world, money does come first. And there are people who are going to tell you that money doesn't come first. It does. You're going to need money to raise that family and to raise those kids, right? This is why married men tend to want to make the most amount of money because they have to buy the most amount of things for the most amount of people. So I say to you, humble yourself to the almighty dollar. And I've said it many, many times. You need to humble yourself to the almighty dollar, right? And do what is required. Because the people that employ you, remember, they do know your marital status, but they're not employing you for this. They are employing you to advance their priorities, to grow their interests, not to counter them. So you are not the counterpart. You are not the counterpart. This is why I said you have to come to work and you have to be like a butler, the number one servant, right? You have to do the work for which you are employed to do, right? And quite frankly, this means that you have to get these benders to bend the knee. You have to get these benders to bend the knee. And sadly, this is what keeps people in line. This is what keeps society under control. Responsibility is what keeps you under control. But more than this, by not promoting benderism, you destroy your own livelihood. You risk your own life. You decrease your own resources and opportunities, and still you would change absolutely nothing by going against benderism. No one has ever fought the battle against benderism. Many great bachelors have come and argued against benderism, and I'm one of them. But ultimately, it hasn't stopped. It has only increased and multiplied. In fact, what they've done now is they have managed to commercialize benderism. And there are entire corporations and businesses that are built around you bending that knee. So, and everything that comes after that. So think of all the clothes, all the food, all the technology, everything that your kids are going to need. People can plan for that. And people make business plans according to those people bending the knee. And if you want to remain economically viable, you have to get them to bend that knee. This is the irony of it. This is the irony of the bachelor life. You're going to end up getting other people to bend the knee, but you got to understand they want to bend that knee. They want to bend that knee. And if you don't convince them to bend that knee, This is not in real world. Online, you can do whatever you want. You can try and do what I did and tell men, don't bend the knee, don't bend the knee, and then get banned of every platform. It's really just that simple. One switch, and there goes your whole entire message. So, yeah, be careful. Today's article is going to represent benderism in its truest, purest form. But for us, it should act as a script to remember and to practice so that when a bender starts to benderize his benderism, you can benderize with him while maintaining your own philosophies, your own beliefs, but advancing the bender's philosophy so that you can accomplish the goal as set by the Grand Master of the Deceptive Arts, Sun Tzu himself, where he said, what you will have on one hand is the ability to protect yourself, but on the other hand, you will have a victory that is complete. So the article today is entitled The Top 10 Benefits of Spending Time with Family. So I just said it was just the top 10 benefits of family in my own title. But effectively, it is going to take us right into the heart of benderism. It was written by Dr. Todd Thatcher, and it comes from the website highlandspringsclinic.org. It reads, why is family so important? So this is what benders believe. Family is so important because of all the love and support it provides. Right, there you go, benderism. They want love and support. We continue. Being with family helps construct principles and improves overall mental health. There you go, those values, those principles. This is what you want to say to them. If you want to say, don't you want the love? Don't you want the support? You're not getting no love and no support, by the way. You're just going to get arguments and headaches. But this is what they want to hear. This is the script, right? It helps construct principles and improves overall mental health, right? That's what you want to be saying in your deceptive arts when you're with benders, So effectively, what they want to see is the opposite if you're single. So if you are an independent person, you should feel like you have no love and no support in your life, even though those people that are supposed to be supporting you are just slowing you down. So remember, the mind of the bender. Spending time with family is key to a person's development as it promotes adaptability and resilience. Why would you need to learn resilience? Isn't resilience an indication that you have something very difficult going on in your life and you are surviving? You are holding it together, right? So now you have to tell them you will have to be resilient as a man if you're going to bend that knee, which is true, So again, it's not like I don't agree with some of these details in the article. This philosophy is not for me. This philosophy is not for us. It's not for vasectomites and bachelors. This is all strictly for the benders. So you have to represent their interests, especially in a professional setting, right? So it's not enough for you to just be hardworking and professional. You also have to be, you have to advance benderism as we see it here. It says here, such key lessons can only be taught by family members, coaching each other regarding life's ups and downs. So you can expect some life's ups and downs. Some resilience is coming your way, right? So you're going to learn some key lessons that can only be taught by family members, right? Family is what makes us who we are. It can, right? It can. A PLOS 1 study, ONE, showed that participants' stress, happiness, and well-being levels were better predicted by their social circle strength rather than their physical health data collected on a fitness tracker. So, this isn't really information. It says stress, happiness, and well being levels were better predicted by their social circle strength rather than physical health data collected on a fitness tracker. So, what does that mean? That they can determine your stress level just by looking at your social circles. So if you have a terrible social circles, your stress levels are high, right? And if your social circles is good, your stress levels will be low. If I'm understanding this correctly, this shows just how important time with family or close friends you call family is to your physical and mental health, and why family is important. These people, close friends that call themselves like, oh, we're like family. You people make me laugh. Really, you make me laugh. You're not like family, man. You know, a few years ago, you guys were complete strangers, and now you are like family. I like that, though. I like that. But that closeness is what the knee bender wants. They want to feel that connection, right? And that's the word. That's the word that I've been trying to 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 the word that I've been trying to find to sum all this up is the word connection. They want connection, man. They don't want to feel disconnected with society. It's like a fear of missing out, right? So instead of having family, you'll have people that are like family to you. The benefits of spending time with family is such a critical component of a full, meaningful life. Remember, we're talking about the benders. Remember that family doesn't necessarily have to be considered blood relatives. There they go again. Close friends, a guardian, or step siblings are well within the realm of who you consider family. Here is a list of benefits that may answer the question, why is family important? Remember, we're talking to the knee benders. Just look at the range of delusion that we are seeing here in the first bit. I'm sorry, I'm really trying to be promoting benderism, but you make it so difficult, man. It's so difficult to support benderism. Just listen to this. The benefits of spending time with family is such a critical component of a full, meaningful life. And then it says, remember, family doesn't necessarily have to be considered blood relatives. Now, what's the point of that? You have blood relatives, you don't get along with them, you don't make an effort to get along with them. Just for you to go close friends, a guardian, step siblings, or whoever. Now you're really trying to find anyone and anything to bond with. This is parasitical. This is parasitical. So if it's not my blood relatives, then it's my close friends, it's my guardian, it's my colleagues, it's my this. This is quite parasitical. And it's troubling, man. But okay, fine. This is what the benders and their counterpart wants. They want to have someone to whom they feel close to, connected with, all the time, right? All the time. This is why they don't let go of their former spouses and former relationships. This is really why they keep letters and photos and all kinds of things, because they want that closeness. Okay, for me, there's really no benefit to it, but this is what the benders want. So you have to promise them closeness, you have to promise them connection, you have to promise them that this is a critical component of a full and meaningful life. It's going to give your life meaning, right? Remember, this is what you have to tell to the benders. So at work, you have to say, when I was with my family, I felt fulfilled. It gave my life meaning. There's a closeness, a connection that I feel with them. I love them. It's all about love. It's all about emotions, and you have to speak that language. You really do, right? And then get back to work. So the health benefits of spending time with family. Number one, improves mental health. I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't agree with this. I think family can be very frustrating, which is a decrease in mental health. But okay, for the benders. So you got to tell them, hey guys, being with family is going to improve your mental well being, right? Improves mental health. When we spend time with family, especially face to face communication as opposed to digital, it significantly reduces the occurrence of depression, anxiety, and other mental illness. Being physically present with loved ones creates a strong emotional support to buoy you up, boost you up through life's challenges. Sure. Okay. So you have to tell people that they will be buoyed, right? It will buoy you up. Um, sure, sure, right? You tell them that it's gonna decrease depression, anxiety, and mental health. Really, we just have to say the opposite of what we believe, because I, as a vasectomite, having all these people running around in my house, it's just gonna frustrate me, you know. Um, Being paranoid, thinking that somebody's cheating on me, that kind of thing, it's just gonna cause me depression and anxiety, right? So for me, these things wouldn't really work. But you have to tell them that it's gonna decrease depression, it's gonna increase your mental well-being, it's just gonna make you happier, right? I hope so. But no, this is not going to happen. But this is what the benders want. This is what the benders want to hear. This is the narrative you have to sell. And if you can sell this narrative, I mean, if you may start making videos, unlike me, who's going to be very critical about this, but I'm moving in a completely different direction and I feel comfortable in that direction. But if you were selling this stuff, if you were reading this with the earnestness that this doctor, Dr. Todd Thatcher, wrote it with, I think you could be quite successful. I think you could make a lot of money promoting benderism. Really, you could. You'd be far more successful than doing this, promoting vasectomies. But remember that benderism is the predominant philosophy on this planet for good reason. For good reason, right? So while we vasectomites, will follow the bachelor life in its best form. Benderism has a place, and the place is the fact that you're going to get someone pregnant. And if you are going to get somebody pregnant, you need to know that there are some benefits to spending time with that person. Otherwise, you're just going to abandon your kids in that kind of situation. So we can't have that, because it's going to leave us bachelors who don't have no kids to be responsible or to fall victim to kids who are not well taken care of, right? So people aren't taking care of those kids and they aren't taking care of themselves. So we really can't have that. So because you know that a lot of guys are going to get women pregnant, in real life, it is the responsible thing to promote benderism. You have to get these guys ready to bend that knee as soon as they get that woman pregnant, because if they don't, they're gonna run. That's the fact. That's the fact. I mean, look at what we're doing, vasectomies. I went as far as to get a vasectomy to avoid the responsibility of raising kids. So it stands to reason that other men would want to run too. So you gotta get them to bend that knee so they can take care of their responsibility and live through the consequences of their decisions. So while I don't practice benderism and I never will, but I would promote it because it makes sense. It makes sense for you to be compelled to take care of your responsibilities. And in a way, this is indicating to you what those responsibilities are up front, so you know what they are. So when you bend that knee, at least you know you did it to yourself, right? So Benderism, it says, helps children perform well academically. This is actually one that's true. So now you have kids, your kids are at school, you want your kids to do very well. Effectively, I'm going to tell you the truth, the best situation is in a two-parent household, right? So where both parents can focus their attention on the kids do very well. Where the kids are neglected, the kids do quite poorly. So, on average, kids who are spending time with family tend to do better in school. This is true. They learn communication skills and the importance of education. When needed, assisting with assignments or new concept reinforces the fact that their success is important to you. Even just asking about their day and what they're learning will show your children how much you care. I don't know so much about that. I believe, perhaps I'll give you some of my own background, right? I believe that what parents do is reinforce the importance of education and employ a consequence if the students are not performing well academically. I think of my own history. There was many times when I wasn't motivated to be successful academically. I was just motivated not to fail because I didn't want to face consequences of failure. And that seemed to have been enough. It seemed to have been enough, right? The motivation to succeed academically, intellectually, mentally came later in life when I saw that there was an intrinsic reward, a tremendous intrinsic reward to being so. But the person who was going to hold me most accountable was my parents, and my parents would reinforce the need and necessity for academic performance again and again and again. The same way that I reinforce the necessity for a vasectomy, right? This is where I get this persistence from my own family, right? They were persistent on one avenue of success and said this avenue would open up other avenues, and indeed they were correct, right? So based on that consistency, that persistence, it really does stick in your child's mind. But to get it to stick, you're thinking about 18 years of just saying the same thing every day, being predictable in that way, and then your kids will be successful, right? It's the same thing with athletes, right? So it's like 12 years. So from the time maybe they're 6 years old until they turn 18, which is around 12 years, then they can become a pro. It's 12 years of saying the same thing to them over and over and over, thousands of times a day, every day for over a decade. And then they become successful. It's really not an overnight thing. And that 10 years, right? This is why children go to school for 12 years. That's 10,000 hours, right? You know, they say that's 10,000. I mean, it's there and thereabouts. It's about 10,000 hours of training, and that's just around 10 years of constant practice. Really, it's that's why the school system is that long, and that's how long it takes for you to train a human being. 12 years. Next one is lowers risk of behavior problems. Sure. Just as I said, because there's someone to hold you accountable, right? Other than your teacher, other than the government, other than society, has to be your parents. So if you are constantly being held accountable, you're going to be scared to try things. This doesn't mean you don't want to. It just means like you know there's consequences. So even if you do, you're trying not to get caught. Children who are spending time with their family have shown less risk of behavioral issues such as violence and substance abuse. When they receive positive attention for positive behaviors, it increases their desire to continue those healthy patterns. And if you're with your family, a lot of the times, you don't have time to do silly things. So it's only really when you're far away from people who hold you accountable that people can indulge in things like substance abuse and even in violence. But generally, you won't find children. Like if you see people that are fighting, if you look around them, what you'll see is their parents aren't there. But if their parents were there, then they would stop the fighting, right? So parents are pretty much there to hold these kids accountable. It says being with family and doing activities together also provides an outlet for pent up emotions that could otherwise lead to unhealthy decisions. Family is so important when it comes to a child or teenager bringing problems to you because your advice can allow them to become better equipped to cope with problems and make positive choices. So effectively, what they're saying is that you have to be there to give your kids sound advice, even though you yourself need sound advice. But what they're assuming is that the parents know more than the child and therefore can give the child some meaningful advice should the child need it. Our next point is boosts self confidence. Spending time with family builds confidence for all of its members. Parents can teach children to build self esteem through specific skills such as problem solving and communications. Sure, I suppose. I think, if you feel what builds confidence, I think, is the idea of safety and preparation. So if you know what you're doing, if you know what's expected of you, and you feel you're in a safe enough environment, yes, you'll feel confident, therefore able to accomplish many tasks and thereby grow your skills. This is actually very good information. So remember, you can say these things to the benders. Some of these things are actually very true in that it helps with children performing academically. It helps with, problems, kids with problems. When kids with problems get in trouble with their parents, they come back and behave better. It can boost self confidence, especially for the kids. So if you focus on the positives for the kids, you'll be absolutely fine. If you focus on the positives for the parents, there are no positives for the parents, right? So when you're talking to the benders, make it be about the kids, about the family, about other people. Because they look inward, it's gonna be terrible. It's going to be terrible. It says they can also model the ability to love oneself without degrading others. I don't know about that, but sure if you say so. Sibling rivalry doesn't indicate that. Sibling rivalry indicates that people can only love themselves and thereby degrade others, right? In fact, when you do indicate that you love yourself, other people feel degraded. And I'm telling you this from experience in the bachelor life. When you start to show that you love yourself, you start buying yourself nice things, people feel like you have money to buy things for them. And they wonder why you're not spending money on them. And the truth is, I don't want to. For parents and children, confidence grows simply with the knowledge that they are valued and appreciated by their loved ones. So, this is something that people want. They want to know that they are valued and they are appreciated, right? So, again, kids will probably value their parents, and some parents may or may not value their kids. But the idea that the concept of a successful family is valuable and that you will be valued and appreciated in that. Sure, okay. I mean, I hope so, but there's no guarantee of that. There's really no guarantees of any of these things. Helps kids learn future parenting skills. So this is troubling for me in that on the one hand it's preparing kids to to also bend the knee, but they might as well just bend the knee because they're going to get somebody pregnant anyway. So you might as well give them those skills. But surely we could teach bachelor skills too, but no, no. Bachelor skills, we cannot be teaching bachelor skills to young kids, especially because the chances are that there's like a 99.9% chance that they're going to be intimate and get somebody pregnant. Bachelor skills can only be taught to people at a much later age in life. The really the lowest you can go is start teaching bachelor skills, and I mean this is right down at the bottom of the scale, is round about 18, when the kid is out of school, outside of high school, so they have to be outside of high school, and then you can start giving them the the full hit, the full hit of the bachelor life. And most really can't take it. Most really can't take it because they spent their whole lives in benderism. Their entire lives were spent in benderism. So now to come out here and start to tell them about vasectomies and all kinds of things, it's a real, it's a real extreme position. It's really an extreme position, one where one cannot really show his face. But that's the lowest you can go. You can't go younger than 18 with this stuff. You really can't go younger than 18 with the stuff, right? So, yeah, so it has to be benderism. It has to be benderism, right? So you got to teach these kids parenting skills. Now, I don't have these skills, so I can't teach you that, you know? So it says here, the memories you create together will instill in children a desire to foster the same loving atmosphere in their own future homes. Yes, memories. Let's not forget the memories, right? You have to promise them good memories. You have to say, oh man, you're going to make such great memories with your kids. You're going to make such great memories with your wife, right? Because that's what people want. And then they carry those residual memories into the future, which is really a formula for catastrophe. A perfect storm is brewing there. Family is so important because through your example, your kids learn important caregiving skills that they can use one day. Caregiving skills. What does that mean? Is that like when someone gets hurt and you give them care? Or is that like when someone is incapacitated and you have to wash and care for them? Like, I don't want to provide caregiving skills. Now, this is not to imply that I don't have the capacity to, but in my older age, I would expect to receive some caregiving, but I'd expect to pay for it. I'm expecting to pay for caregiving, but I don't think that I would want to give care. But if you're in a family, you're definitely going to have to give care. So you can promise them you can have good memories, and then if you get sick, there's somebody to care for you. And if they get sick, there's somebody to care for them. This is what benders want. This is the dream for benders. A united family front that improves community, society, builds the nation, and uplifts humanity. It's a beautiful dream. It's a beautifully flawed dream. It says here they may even practice now by copying your behavior when they interact with siblings. So yes, children do copy your behaviors. They copy somebody's behaviors. So they will either copy yours or somebody prominent that they look up to and they try to emulate, an athlete, an entertainer, a celebrity, somebody who they deem to be perceived as successful. So they may want to emulate that person. This is for both boys and girls. But the first person that they'll probably try to emulate is going to be the parent. So Nexus says that benderism teaches effective conflict resolution. I don't know what that means. I think it means compromise. You have to compromise. You have to give up something and hope that one day you're going to gain something in return. I don't know how likely that is. But it says When we spend time with family, it is fun, but it can be difficult too. I'm usually more of the it can be difficult camp. But yes, you can say, oh, isn't it fun to spend time with your family? So you have to say positive things about the family unit, right? And this is a very lovely script to follow. Maybe write it down somewhere so you can remember it a few times. When conflict arises, you can just walk away for good. Your It says here when conflict arises, you can't just walk away for good. I beg your pardon. You're in this together, so you have to work together to solve the issues that come up. This is a problem for me. This is a problem for me because some issues cannot be resolved by simply discussing. Sometimes the discussion is the problem. Sometimes walking away is the solution. And here you can't walk away. So somebody has to capitulate. Somebody has to compromise. Somebody has to bend the knee. That's what they're saying here. It's saying you can't walk away and one of you has to bend that knee. And it's going to be you, Mr. Knee Bender. You're the one who's accustomed to bending the knee, so you're going to be bending the knee because you're in it together, right? Spending time with family teaches interpersonal communication skills, including healthy, constructive ways to discuss, debate, and solve problems. This is arguing. When they say interpersonal communication skills, that means shouting, including healthy, foul language, constructive way, destructive ways to discuss, debate, that's shouting, and solve problems, that's you bending the knee. So effectively, that's the type of language you need to use. You need to use colorful language, right? Colorful language. So I would look at this, I would probably say this with a little bit of sarcasm in my voice, but I would use it with colorful language. Remember, it's either this or a destructive community. So it's either they bend the knee and follow this advice, or it's going to be a destructive community because not many are going to become vasectomates. Not many men are going to get the vasectomy and live a life of peace without bothering anyone or risking anybody else's life. No. Many men are going to move from one risky situation to the next, to the next, to the next. So you got to get them to bend that knee. It's good for them. Believe it or not. Next, it says reduce stress. I don't know about this, but again, I'm trying not to look at this situation from the point of view of the vasectomites, but I can't help myself. But for the knee benders, yes, maybe having a family will reduce stress for you. Let's see what it says here. Those with strong family healthy relationships, strong family healthy relationships. Such a thing exists, tend to seek out healthier coping mechanisms for stress, such as confiding in friends and family instead of other unhealthy outlets. So instead of hitting the bottle or illicit substances, you'll talk to a family member and they will tell you to bend that knee, right? Go back and bend that knee. This is why you have to be good at telling men to bend the knee. This is why you have to be good and skillful at telling men to bend the knee because they face difficult situations and they're inclined to run away. But you got kids. You're not running away, no way. So you might as well go back to the people, friends and family who told you to bend the knee and discuss the consequences of bending that knee together. This is why relationship content is so popular on the internet, right? Because everybody bent the knee. Now they all regret bending the knee and they don't know what else to do because you can't unbend your knee. It says this establishes a habit of talking through problems together to relieve stress and find effective solutions, hopefully. Stress also significantly affects aspects of physical health such as fatigue, blood pressure, and heart health. So yes, stress is very bad for you. It's terrible for you. It really affects every part of your body, right? Fatigue means you're exhausted. Blood pressure is blood pressure, and heart health. Just remember, like like 75% or something like that of your body is liquid, it's water, it's blood. And all that blood is pumped through your heart. So if you have poor heart health, that means like your whole system gets affected. So stress will do that for you. Apparently, talking with family members reduces stress, right? This is the talking point, right? The family members cause the stress. You go talk to a family member helps you distress, then you go back to the family member who caused the stress and you bend that knee. It says the a annals, I think it's annals of behavioral medicine conducted a study that found when people discuss hardships in their lives with their friend beside them instead of alone, they had lower pulse and blood pressure readings. So if you're discussing something, let's say you're going to the bank and the bank is about to foreclose on your house, it means that if you go there with a family member on your side to talk to the bank, you feel a lower, you feel less stress than if you were doing it by yourself. If your kid is failing and you go there with somebody to support you, if you're going to the child support court and you see your counterpart get there with a friend or somebody who's there to support them, it's because that support lowers their stress and anxiety, right? But if they were there by themselves, they would be a complete mess. Next, it says it promotes adaptability and resilience. Your ability to face life's challenges and challenges is, sorry, your ability to face life's changes and challenges is greatly improved by a strong family bond. Being with family gives you the feeling of knowing that you belong, you are cared for, and you are needed, which gives a sense of meaning and purpose. This assurance gives motivation to push forward, grow, and succeed. I hope so. I hope so, right? I hope that you feel that you are cared for, right? And that you are needed, and that this gives a sense of meaning and purpose. I don't know about all that, but this is what the bender wants. This is what the bender wants to hear. They want to hear that they are needed, they are appreciated, they are valued, and everything that they are doing is for a greater good and a greater purpose. It's not just going to stop with them, it's going to extend out into society and into the world as a whole. Can you imagine the ego of these people? Just the ego of thinking that you having intimacy with a counterpart is going to affect the greater good of society, when the fact that is you have no self-control and no self-discipline, right? And it's a problem, and it's a real problem, because there's the reality on the one hand, but this is what you want to be told, right? You want to be told that you belong, that you are cared for, that you are needed, right? That your life has meaning and purpose. This is what it means. The family motivates the benders. It's a source of motivation that I think they really rely on and they appreciate, right? But this is what you need to be telling them. This is what you need to be selling them. And if you sell them this, they will buy into you. But you can't oversell it, right? So you can't just go around offering this information. Should you be in these conversations, you need to be able to say, yeah, well, it does help with conflict resolution. You helps you to find peace. It can help reduce stress. When there's a conflict, it's good to have support and to know that you belong, and that there are people who care for you and who value you. And that's what family is about. See, that's how you need to be selling this. That's really how you need to be selling this. You can't come out there and just say, oh, a bachelor for life. No. No, 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 no. Not in a bender world and not in a bender economy. Because this is really the economy that we are in. And they want to uphold that. And there's a reason for it. There's a very good reason for it. Because again, think about it. These people are not going to become vasectomites. See, it's one thing if you become a vasectomite and get your vasectomy and you retreat. You participate, but you retreat. These benders are not retreating. They are not slowing down. They are only going to have more kids. And they need to be held responsible for those kids. That's why they got to bend that knee. And you have to tell them this information, even though you personally don't agree with it. Benderism also promises to enhance physical health. So it says here, I with the no, that's not an I think that's a mistake. It says with the right kind of activities. That sounds more logical. Spending time with family can positively impact physical well-being. So with the right type of activities. So if you're not sitting there watching TV, if you're not sitting there eating crisps, if you're not drinking soft drinks all the time, ordering food on your phone, which is exactly what everybody does, right? It's exactly what everybody does. But depending on the type of physical activities that you're doing, other than playing video games and watching shows and that kind of thing, if you're physical and you're active with your family, other than doing the realistic things that we all do, those activities could be meaningful. I think it's easier to do if you're in like a beach town where the kids can go swimming all day, right? Or you're somewhere where there's can be outdoor activities. You give the kid a ball and he can play all day. But otherwise, or if you have a nice garden or something like that. But otherwise, most indoor activities are stationary, right? Outdoor activities are, motion based, moving. For instance, it says families who eat more home cooked meals together tend to have a better diet than those who don't. Participating in outdoor activities, like I just mentioned, like sports games, hikes, or gardening together, helps to promote fitness. Um, Again, I'm telling you about that restaurant food. Guys, you really need to stay away from those restaurant foods. Now, I know I eat restaurant foods. Um, Maybe I need to just justify that, but I'll make a video about traveling. But I eat restaurant food because I'm really not going to nightclubs and that kind of things. And if I'm not going to watch like a show in the evening at the theater or some type of musical rendition of some type, I'm really just going to a nice restaurant to eat something wholesome. But I'm really trying to not go to, you know, places that are dark and dangerous, effectively. Loud, dark, and dangerous, right? I don't want to go to places where I can't see anything, can't hear anything, can't anticipate anything. It's really just about self preservation. So if I'm going out, I'm really going out to like a nice restaurant where I can sit and enjoy the scenery and enjoy a delicious meal, and off I go. That being said, really it's not the thing to do on a regular basis. Once in a while, that's okay, but you can't be eating restaurant food on a daily, weekly basis. Not on a daily, weekly basis. Home cooked meals are really what it's about. Now, despite the fact that knee benders, especially married benders, right, the ultimate benders, despite the fact that they look the way they do, right, they may look a little bit pudgy and whatnot, they actually live a longer life because they eat healthier food and they live a more stable life, right? That stability and those meals over years and years and years and years, it makes a difference to you physiologically. So even if you go to the gym, right? Even if it's like smoking, right? I'm really trying to stay away from bad words. It's like it's like smoking, right? So if you don't do any exercise, right, you just live a lazy, boring life, but you never ever ever smoke, right? You will outlive a person who exercises every day, eats healthy, does all the right things, but smokes every day, you will easily outlive that person, right? And the same idea here exists. It's like you can exercise and do all those things, but you're still consuming something that really is diminishing the length and the quality of your life. While that person is doing nothing to increase the quality of their life and the longevity of their life, but because they're not self-harming indirectly, blatantly or indirectly, they they survive just by not harming themselves. They outlive you despite all of your efforts, despite all of your running and all of your gymming, right? Despite all of your healthy eating and whatever. You keep smoking, you're going to ruin your life very easily. So, despite all of your gymming, you keep eating in restaurants day after day after day after day. You're really not going to survive. Again, somebody who never eats in restaurants or only eats in restaurants on special occasions. So this is, you really need to be like an occasions kind of person, you know? And there are plenty of occasions like Valentine's Day and whatnot. Take yourself out on Valentine's Day and then wait for the next occasion. Don't just go there because it's Thursday night. Let me go eat something. No, 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 no. You need an occasion. You have to be an occasions kind of guy, right? And then you'll be able to space out these meals. These are actually very good, interesting points. It continues. There's even evidence that time with family can boost the effects of exercise and other healthy habits. Okay, so when you exercise, it's good, but when you exercise with family, it's better. Sure, I can sell that. I can absolutely sell that. You know, it's one thing to exercise by yourself. It's like what they say, a family that prays together stays together. So I think it's really the more activities that you do with your families, the healthier you get. But you do need to live a healthy lifestyle. Next, it says it improves heart, brain, hormonal, and immune health. I don't know so much about that. I have no proof and evidence on that, but it may very well be true, right? But this is not for us to try and prove or disprove this. This is for us to know what benderism promotes, what benderism suggests you're going to get. So these are the type of things that you want to discuss with benders. All right, talk about how good it is, home cooked meals, activities with the kids, gardening together. That's the kind of thing that they want to talk about. Really, that's what they want you to talk about, right? We're going to do gardening with the kids today, right? Because a lot of these activities are focused on raising children because that's really what it comes down to. It's not so much about the parents, the adults who know what they're doing. It's about protecting the kids, right? And yes, I believe it can improve the kids' heart, brain, hormonal, and immune health. You, not so much. Being with family can also encourage one another to maintain healthy lifestyles so people will be able to hold you accountable. I find that family members, like people, siblings, those kind of things, they can actually hold a person more accountable than, say, their partner or their counterpart. So, you know, if you want to maintain a healthy lifestyle, your family will do it. For example, your father will be able to make you exercise more than, say, your husband or your wife. And then it says it lengthens life expectancy. So this is known, right? Because they live that stable kind of life and they don't eat all that restaurant food and they don't have bad habits. Because married men don't really smoke all that much. I don't have the statistics for this, but I'm aware that, no, let me not say that. I'm aware of people who quit smoking and consuming alcohol because they had children. I'm more aware, let me rather say, of people who quit bad habits like smoking and drinking because they have children more than I am of people who quit for their own health and benefit, right? So I can see how that, along positive practices like that, along with eating home cooked meals every day, can increase life expectancy compared to bachelors who live recklessly. Healthy relationships could increase your lifespan up to 50%. Combine all the physical and mental health benefits discussed above, and you can see why family time has been linked to living a longer, healthier, happier life. I agree. Even those with unhealthy physical habits but a strong social network, yes, unhealthy physical habits but a strong social network can live longer than those without these relationships. This is the point that I was making. So, under these circumstances, eating healthy, socializing, living, being active, you can actually find that you are living longer than people who are exercising but are not making those other changes in their social life. So you're exercising, but you're not eating healthy, right? You're exercising, but you're staying up all night, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, right? So those kinds of things, they really can affect you. You're exercising, but you don't have a stable life and routine. This can be problematic. This really can be problematic in terms of your longevity, and self perseverance, right? The last point, make spending time with family a priority. Highland Springs can help. So, yes, I think this is some background info on Highland Springs, but let's read it anyway. Spend time with family with all these incredible benefits of a supportive social network. You can see why spending time with family is important. While it's fun to invite friends and family to spend quality time together, it's also a significant aspect of your physical health and mental well being. Put down the phone, gather together, and create some fun, meaningful memories. Making time to connect with family requires a bit of planning, sometimes a bit of money, but the investment is well worth it for the outcomes of healthy individuals and strong family bonds. For guidance to nurture your family relationships, learn more about our family counseling at Highland Springs Clinic. We also provide couples therapy and marriage counseling to strengthen your family. Isn't that just a delightful piece of reading? Right? I thought I'd go right through that whole thing. Um, I'm going to go back to where it says sometimes it can cost a bit of money to spend time with family. This is something that they did not discuss here, right? Families are very, very, very expensive, but you have to tell the vendors that they're worth it, right? So these are the kinds of things that you want to discuss when you are with the vendors. These are the kinds of things, especially when you work with them, when you socialize with them. You need to be encouraging. This is what they call family values, right? And as I mentioned right at the beginning, Benderism really encompasses a wide range of things, right? So it's not just family values, society as a whole. There's mental health, there's physical health, there's academic performance, there's self confidence, there's future planning, future family skills, future family dynamics, future nurturing skills, caring skills. Then there's health, conflict, adaptability, resilience, all these things, whatever they are, you just have to say that, well, family makes that better. Family makes your health better. Family makes your brain better. Family makes you richer. Family makes you smarter. Family makes you taller. Family makes you leap one building in a tall building in a single bound. I don't know, right? Whatever it is, you have to say family is good. You have to promote the family values if you are going to survive in the world of the knee benders, which is really where you live. 99.9% of the men in the world are going to bend the knee, and 99% of the women are going to see a man bending the knee, right? And if they don't, they're going to have these kids, and the system will make you bend that knee, right? The bending the knee doesn't mean to propose. Bending the knee means to yield to a superior force. That's all it means. It can be done physically or it can be done symbolically, but you can be made to yield. It's surrendering. It's surrendering. That's what it means, to surrender. When you bend that knee, and they'll make you surrender. They'll take you straight to jail. You don't bend that knee. You have these kids, you don't take care of them, you neglect your kids, you're going straight to jail. Right? So, but you can't threaten the bender with the consequence, right? Because then you might as well tell them about the bachelor life and the vasectomy, right? If you really want to discuss consequences, but they don't want to hear about consequences. They want to hear about the good parts. So that's what you give them, the good parts. You practice your deceptive skills. Practice your deceptive skills, right? Practice saying that, family enhances physical health, right? And hold fast in your resolve as a bachelor, as a vasectomite, knowing that these things are not your issues, but knowing that, quite frankly, you're doing the right thing by getting these people to bend that knee, because they're going to have all these kids running around with no guidance, no leadership, and nobody to pay. And that's really the big issue. What they're running from is they don't want to pay. That's why they got a little bit of section here about money, but the rest of it is not about money. It's about society, community, nation building, humanity. But then there's a cost, right? And they don't want to discuss that cost. Now, I'm not going to discuss that cost now, because now we're talking about consequences. And if we're going to talk about consequences, we might as well talk about a vasectomy. But effectively, this is something that you need to know in your deceptive skills. You need to understand the mind of the bender and what benderism truly stands for. It's a fairy tale. You need to sell that fairy tale in order to curtail these benders legally, because otherwise it's going to be absolute chaos. It's going to be absolute chaos, right? So even though you're a bachelor yourself and you want to maintain your bachelorhood, your priority should be to get these people to bend that knee. You really need to think of it that way, right? Those that want to be bachelors, you'll get a vasectomy and you'll prove yourself. Your words will mean nothing. You know how many men I've heard say bachelor for life in my whole life? And then you ask them, so are you married? Yeah. You got kids? Yeah. Have you been divorced? Yes. What are you talking about? Did you get a vasectomy? No, I'm not getting a vasectomy. Then what are you talking about? You're not a bachelor, you're a knee bender. You bent the knee twice. Get a vasectomy. Get a vasectomy, become a vasectomite. Stand fast. Then we don't have to be selling you these fairy tales. But until then, you should actually consider it your duty as a bachelor to get these men to bend that knee. You really need to get them to bend that knee, because if they don't, it's going to be chaos. Just think of all the single parents right now struggling to put it together, right? And what did they do? They just built an industry around it to get you to pay and to bend that knee. And that system is really, quite frankly, an effective system. It's called the child support system. And it works. And it works because it's not only right, it's good. Right? So if they can't get you to bend that knee socially, they get you to do it through the courts. And it's right. Because otherwise, get a vasectomy. Freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy. But this is the end of the video. Thank you for your time and your attention. Again, I appreciate it. I always will. I truly do from my heart. But please remember, when you go out there, right, as a bachelor, as a vasectomite, your duty is in fact to get these benders to bend that knee. You need to get them to bend that knee, but you don't want to bend the knee yourself. Right? But you need to do it. You need to get them on their knees. You need to keep them on their knees, and you need to do it for the good of society. Right? Take a personal pride in this. Right? Tell them all, get married, have kids. right? Get married, have kids. Because otherwise, I guarantee you absolute chaos. I'm the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme. I am the voice of the vasectomites. Thank you again for your time. Have a nice day.